Hi everyone, welcome back to the US CPA classes for Financial Accounting and Reporting exam. In this video, we are studying general purpose financial statement for non-governmental and not-for-profit organization. This is part 1. In this video, we'll be discussing in detail about not-for-profit organization, standard setting process of the not-for-profit organization, and type of not-for-profit organization. So let's dive into to understand the part 1 of not-for-profit organization in the general purpose financial statement reporting of non-governmental and not-for-profit organization. So now we are moving on to next topic, which is 2.3. If you see in your first chapter, so we are done till here. So these all topics are done, right? So now we are starting this one, 2.3, right? So in 2.3, which is general purpose financial statement for non-governmental, not-for-profit organizations. So why we keep it last? Because these are like quite similar to the governmental accounting. So you can easily correlate when we switch to the governmental accounting, and you can also identify the differences among both of them also. Because rest of the things, like you already know. So I would not be teaching like what is SEC, 10K, 10Q, 8K. These all things you have already gone through, right? Earning per share, I think that's very basic. You can also do segment
Yes,
reporting
sir.
also, you are already being aware of. Cash basis accounting, tax basis, this is very theoretical, you can just go through, but I'll take you through this one. This is probably new topic to you, which is
Hmm.
employee benefit plan, 401k. This I'll take you through. So
Okay.
now coming to this one, so here we'll be studying four things again in the like overall financial statement, financial position. So what we call balance sheet for the for-profit organization. For not-for-profit organization, we call it financial position. For profit organization, what we call statement of income. Here we call statement of activity. Cash flow statement is again same, statement of cash flow. Notes to accounts is again notes to financial statement. So these two nomenclature are different, but overall theme is same, right? So now coming to the general purpose financial statement for non-governmental not-for-profit organization. So not-for-profit organization. So in short form, we'll be saying NFP. So first one is the standard setting. Again, like we discussed earlier, there are three standard setting body in AICPA. What all three those? What are those three bodies?
Also, FASB,
FASB, ISB, and
GASB,
GASB. Right?
GASB, yeah.
So FASB make standard setting for all the private organization as well
and
as for the
NFP.
non-governmental not-for-profit organization. GASB makes standard for governmental organization, and ISB makes
Governmental
standard
organization.
for IFRS. Right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So this is same concept here. The FASB established most of the standard for not-for-profit organization other than government. So not-for-profit standard differs significantly from GAAP for business organization. So these are slightly different than the GAAP which we use for the business purpose entity. So here you need to like more conscious, because sometimes students get confused among the treatment of the same item. For profit organization and not for profit organization is different. So you need to understand, if the question is for not for profit organization, you need to consciously think according to the not for profit organization rules, right? Because throughout, you can say, in our schooling, in our college, in our professional study, or more than 80% study which you are doing for the CPA, always you have in mind is for profit organization, right? So sometimes student fail to connect the question whether it's being related to for profit organization, not for profit organization, or governmental organization. That is the reason, like the people respond incorrectly. But if consciously it is in your mind, this is not for profit organization or governmental accounting, it is very simple and straightforward. It's only we are not exposed to those environment practically also. None of us have worked in governmental accounting. None of us might have worked in any NGO. right? That is the reason practically we are not exposed to. And theoretically, if you see in the CPA curriculum also, 80% of our time go in the for-profit organization rules and regulations, right? And in our school, college also, we are not exposed to this. So that is the reason like student missed out on the answer. But if you see the question coming from not-for-profit organization or the governmental organization is very straightforward, right? Just keep those rules and regulations in your mind, then you are all set for the exam. So not-for-profit organization standard differs slightly from the gap, and not-for-profit standard differs significantly among the type of NFPs also. So maybe like one is trust, one is society, one is for educational purpose, one is for hospital purpose, one is museum, one is library. So accounting treatment for different type of not-for-profit organization would also be differ from each other. Third is need to use extra care with hospital and educational institution, which can be non-governmental or governmental, right? So school can be governmental school or can be non-governmental school, right? So
Yes,
like in
sir.
India, if you
Yes,
see,
sir.
there are two type of schools or colleges or university. One is like government owned. So you know like government schools. Second is the private school. But private school, they are all either an trust or a society or a Section 8 company, which is not for profit organization. But
Okay.
irony is that, but irony is that they are making the big monies.
Yes, sir. Exactly.
Yes, sir.
Right? It's a
Right.
big business. Same
Right.
way, hospital also, like in country like India or same way in country like US, it's not allowed to be a profit for profit organization. So in US also, if you see like hospital or if you see any private school, none of them is for profit organization like S corporation or C corporation. They
Hmm.
all would come under the NGO or not for profit organization. In India also, schools, colleges, university, hospitals, they are not allowed to be a private limited company or a public limited company, right? They are allowed only and only under the society as per the Society Registration Act, trust as per the Trust Registration Act, or Section 8 company, which is not for profit organization. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So now we are done with the formation. Hmm? Type of not-for-profit organization. One, it can be voluntarily health and welfare organization, which provides services to the general public for low fee or no fee and are supported through contribution, right? So second type of organization could be healthcare organization, which include like hospital, nursing home, hospice, right? You know what is hospice?
Uh, no, sir.
Okay, so hospice are like, like care center basically when you are suffering with very serious disease like cancer or maybe something your person is about to die, like taking care at that point of time when person is about to die. So those places are called hospice.
Okay.
Educational institute include like colleges, universities, schools, and other not-for-profit organizations that include all other non-business entity except for state and local governmental bodies or entity that are for profit, right? So it can be your civic organization, political party, they are also like an NGO, right? Religious organization, research and development center, and then performing art organization. If you see like have you heard like in India, for example, FICCI, have you heard FICCI?
Yes, sir.
FICCI, ECMA, right?
Yes, sir.
SOCHAM, CII, they all are like not for profit organization, right? Private foundation, so like you can say Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, right?
Hmm.
Public broadcasting station like the radio stations, labor unions, funeral organization, library, museum, cemetery organization, other cultural institute, private school, or geological or botanical part societies. So those are like example for other not-for-profit organizations. So One is for healthcare, second for educational, and rest of them comes under the other not-for-profit organization. Right? Any doubt
Right.
so far?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay. So method of accounting. So all not-for-profit organization use FASB not-for-profit method of accounting, and all not-for-profit organizations report on the full accrual basis of accounting. So they are not supposed to maintain their accounting on cash basis, right? Whereas if you remember S corporation, if they are not required to do any filing for for banking, for the lenders to the investor, or to any like outside party, they can maintain their account in cash basis for tax purpose. But not for profit organization, they have to maintain their account on accrual basis. So reporting emphasis is on two things. One is sources of resources, that means from where they get the money. Second
Yes.
is how those resources are being
Utilization.
expended, that means expenditure.
Right.
Right? These two are focus area in the reporting, from what all sources, how much money they are getting, and in what all you can say domain, or you can say areas they are utilizing the respective money. So these two are like focus area when we are making the financial statement for not for profit organization. Right? In the financial statement, again, there are four things. One is statement of financial position, second is statement of activity, third is statement of cash flow. Then I think I should add one more, notes to accounts. So I'll add in the notes. Let me do that. One second. Sorry. Two point 3.4. Right, so I'll add small explanation over here later on. But just for your information purpose, in financial statement we have these four items: financial position, statement of activity, and cash flow statement. So the financial reports of not-for-profit organization resemble with the business financial statement more than governmental financial statement, right? A non-governmental not-for-profit organization issue following three primarily financial statement along with notes to accounts, I would say, right? So these are primary financial statement plus notes to accounts, which is like explanation to those financial statement. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So financial position include your balance sheet, which report your assets, liability, and net assets. So if you remember, for profit organization financial statement, balance sheet, you have three things: your assets, your liability, and your equity.
Equity.
Right? Instead of equity, here you will get net asset.
Donations. Net.
Right? So
Exactly.
that is the difference. In the statement of activity, in income statement, you have revenue, expenses, and EBITDA and everything. So here you will be having report event impact net asset, that is inflow and outflow of economic resources. Inflow means your revenue and outflow means your expenditure,
Expenses.
right?
Expenses.
And the net balance will transfer to the net asset. That means whatever is the net balance of inflow minus outflow will transfer to the net asset. Net asset is your similar to equity statement,
Equity. Yeah.
right? And cash flow statement will use again the same thing: report the sources and usage of cash in operating activity, finance, investing activity, and financing activity, right? And then I think I
तो
have
सर इसमें सॉरी कैश
Mhm.
फ्लो में इसकी जो फाइनेंसिंग एक्टिविटीज होंगी वो जनरली वही होंगी डोनेशंस जो मिल रही है राइट और ऑपरेटिंग एक्टिविटीज में जनरली इनके एक्सपेंसेस होंगे क्योंकि इनकम तो कुछ होगी नहीं
Yeah, just take a look. So that's the reason like I have downloaded this one, right, and share with you. So this is how like financial statement will look like. So your assets, I'll come to the cash flow just a minute,
Mm-hmm.
Pankaj. Right.
Yes.
So in the balance sheet, or you can say in the financial position, you'll see your cash, prepaids, beneficial interest, program related assets, property, plant and equipment, and the leases. Right, on the liability side you have all your accounts payable, accrued liability, operating lease, grant payable, and the program related investment liabilities. And then final one is net asset. So instead of equity it is net asset, and that net asset is also being further divided into two pieces. One is without donor restriction, where you do not have any restriction of the donor, where you need to invest that. And the second is with donor restriction. That means donor advise you the purpose for which you need to make this investment. Right? We'll be discussing that also in detail. Now coming to the second part, which is statement of activity. Statement of activity will have all the change in the asset without donor restriction and with donor restriction separately. So revenue and gains, from where you are collecting the money, it is all coming. Contribution and other income, then you have investment income, that is your net asset release from restriction. So this we will be discussing. So just mark this one, net asset release from restriction. So we'll be
Restrictions.
discussing that. Next is your expenses, your global program, US program, other charitable program, or pragmatic support for which you have specific investment. Right, then you have management and general expenses to maintain and manage your NGO, that's your total expense. And then change in net asset without donor restriction. And then after impact of beneficial interest which is contribution from trust, how much contribution trust has made this year, plus change in the net asset of the trust. Right, that is your total impact of beneficial interest. And then lastly it will result into change in net asset without donor restriction. Right, then after if you see change in net asset with donor purpose restriction, in that you'll
Mm.
classify how much is the contribution and how much is the net asset released from restriction. We'll discussing this. So mark this one again, net asset released from restriction. So that will give you change in net asset with donor restriction, and then change in total net asset. Hmm? So net asset at the beginning you'll be adding, this is coming from your financial position, and this is your net asset at the end. So this will again go to your financial position of current year. Now
Yes, sir.
coming to the cash flow. So cash flow is cash flow from operating activity. There is you will be using direct method basically. So all the cash received, that means contribution received from trust, contribution from donor with restriction, without restriction, or other cash received, minus the cash paid, which is for your grant you have given, charitable contribution you have made, compensation, other expenses, or any taxes you have paid. So this is cash from operating activity.
Operating.
Then coming
Mm.
to your question, what will come in investing and financing activity? So in investing activity, if they are doing any investment like purchasing any shares, debentures, mutual
Mm.
funds, or maybe they're purchasing any property, plant, equipment. So that will go into the investing
Investing.
activities,
Correct.
right? And now coming to the financing activity. If you see here, there is no
Paying.
financing activity in this, but like financing activity can be for your endowment fund, if you are collecting any money for endowment fund, or if you are collecting any money to the permanent fund, or if you are collecting any money for the corpus. Right,
Okay.
so those
Endowment
Exactly,
things,
fund.
exactly.
I'm coming to that one by one. So
Hmm.
corpus is basically which gives you
Capital.
the capital, right?
Exactly.
Permanent fund,
Hmm.
which like you receive from the donor, which will be permanently stay into your bank account. You cannot use that for the operation purpose, right?
Okay.
Endowment fund is, for example, like for example, I'm associated with a trust that work for the you can say underprivileged student, right?
Hmm.
So I have given, let's say, 10 lakh rupees as an endowment fund to that trust. And what that endowment fund is, like from that money, whatever the interest you are earning, that interest you can utilize for the study of one child.
अच्छा,
So
okay.
that they cannot break that 10 lakh rupees which I have deposited to them, but whatever the interest they are generating out of it, that they can utilize for the study of one student.
Okay,
Right?
got
सर
So
it.
it
जो
is also like a corpus or permanent fund in
और सर
which
जो वो
they do. Yeah.
और सर वो जो 10 लाख है वो हमारे को मतलब वापस थोड़ी ना मिलेंगे, वो तो इन्वेस्टेड है ना ऑलरेडी.
No, it's again like with restriction or without restriction. So it is like permanently with them, but they do
Okay.
not have it there. I put the restriction that you cannot withdraw that. I would say like every year
Okay.
from the interest you teach one student.
वो तो सर री इन्वेस्टिंग हो गया ना, दोबारा वही कर रहे हैं.
Hmm. Got it. So it's like again a capital contribution.
हाँ वही हो गया, ठीक है.
So those things can come into the financing activity for an NPO or not-for-profit organization.
ठीक
Make
है.
sense?
Yes.
Hmm.